Yeah. Your town nice. Stay in the know. Hardin County. Oh. Yeah. Phone on silent, but the county talk loud. Hardin Local got the whole town down. From Radcliffe Rose to the E-Town Square. If it's going down, you'll hear it right here. Nate got the scoop when the business grow. Nate's business buzz, let the whole town know. New shop popping, yeah, the word gon' flow. Local grind strong, let the spotlight glow. Then J.O.B. with the weekend plans. Events in the county for the whole fam. Concerts, festivals, places to go. Circle that calendar so you don't miss the show. Stay in the know. Hardin County. Hardin Local. Let it ride. Head bopping local tonight. Hardin County on a vibe, from the news to the food to the city lights. Stay in the know. Hardin County. Yeah. Rachel got the numbers when the market move. Housing update, let the data prove who's buying what and where things go. Smart move start when you stay in the know. Then the food talk hit when the mic get lit. Experience eater telling where to sit. New spot fire, we gotta go. Local plates hot, let the flavor show. Small town roots, but the vision big. Every local story with the gig. From the sports park lights to the downtown glow. Hardin Local on the mic, now the whole town knows. Stay in the know. Hardin County. Hardin Local. Let it ride. Head bopping local tonight. Hardin County on the vibe, from the news to the food to the city lights. Stay in the know. Hardin County. Hardin County. Feel on the vision since day one go. Built it from nothing, now the whole town know. Found it with the plan and the mic in hand. Hardin Local roots all across the land. Sky on the co-host with the guns out flex. Sleeveless every season, what you gonna expect? Keep it real, keep it loud, keep the people fed. If the shirt got sleeves, then it's left on red. From the mic to the street, from the town to the show. Hardin Local on the beat, yeah, the whole county know. Real stories, real folks, every voice in the flow. Hardin County stand up. Stay in the know. Hardin County. Hardin Local. Let it ride. Head bopping local tonight. Ooh, let us ride. Hardin County. Hardin County.
Welcome to Hardin Local. My name's Phil Tall, and today we have a standalone interview. I'm joined by Representative Josh Calloway, the incumbent in Kentucky's State Representative District 10, which includes Breckinridge County plus part of Hardin County. He's running for re-election in the Republican primary on May 19th. And correct me if I'm wrong, but you've been the rep in District 10 since 2021?
Yes, sir.
All right. With this interview, I think we're closing out our District 10 coverage. Challenger Julie Cantwell joined us last week, and now both candidates have had their say before voters head to the poll. A big thank you to upfront to our sponsors who backed our election coverage, the Plumbing Doctor and Omni Design Group, both Hardin County businesses. More on them both in a few minutes. Representative, thank you for making time. Every candidate in this race gets the same questions in the same order with the same time limits. Let's dig in.
Yes, sir.
All right. So we know you're running for reelection for District 10 state rep. Um, and you can either answer this as why you ran for this office originally or why you're running for reelection, or you can kind of combine it.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll kind of combine. A lot of it hasn't changed. The primary reason that I decided to run was to be a voice for the future, and what I mean by that is for the generations that are coming behind us. Was hearing a lot about issues that were decade old and 2 decades old that were going across our state, and these issues had just been kicked down the road, the pension issue, education issues, you name it. And I wanted to bring an approach to the legislature that every time that I cast a vote, that I wasn't just doing it about the right now, but that I was casting a vote that would impact in the right way future generations and fix problems for generations that were coming behind us instead of kicking them down the road. And so, when I began to run, I talked about being the district's voice for faith, for family, for freedom, and for the future that was coming behind us. And so that has remained my focus. It's still the reason why I'm running, and I feel like I still got business left to tend to before I'm done. So.
All right. Now, what I'd like here is a story, if you have one. What happened in your life that led you to run for political office?
Well, one thing that I think stands out in my mind is I've worked in the volunteer realm for a long time. I am a preacher as well, and began serving about 18 years ago in detention centers and as well as prisons, and then helping as a volunteer in juvenile detention centers. And that was one of the things I started working at Fort Knox on a weekly basis up there with troubled youth. And that was a lot of the inspiration as to why that I decided to run, to see the brokenness and the direction where, our youth were headed and the help that they needed from a guidance standpoint. And so I get to be involved in their day to day personal life, but I also want to be engaged in the policy side as well to be able to help guide that for them and, for this district as well. A lot of things were changing. We went the year that I got elected was the year of COVID. So there were a lot of things that happened during that time frame that continued to inspire me to run. I did get beat the first time I ran in 2018, and then I came back in 2020 and ran and then won then. But it's always been, a focus on youth, and that has been, a lot of the passion of what I still do on a day to day basis.
All right. Other than you already being a state rep, what qualifies you, um, or what most prepared you to serve in this manner?
Yeah, I've been in a plethora of different things. I had a brain tumor when I was 18 years old. I was getting ready to turn 19. And my dad worked at a factory that manufactured office furniture. And so I had to have immediate emergency surgery. It was growing at a very rapid pace. So I go in for surgery. A week and a half later, I turned 19 and I went off my dad's insurance. And so I decided that I would go to work where he was as soon as I got cleared to go back to work for insurance so that I could do that for 6 months. And then I was headed back to construction, which was what I did all my young life. And I ended up staying there 16 years. I went to EKU, got my safety and health certification. So I've worked with corporations. I stepped out of that into a small business and began to work as in the oil and gas industry and did that. It was a national company, but a little bit smaller. It wasn't corporation, and so got to do that. And also just the volunteer work that I have done. I've done, for the last 18 years, 20 years, something like that, and working with troubled and broken people and trying to serve people. So that is my passion, and that's some things I think that kind of helped prepare me for what I had no clue that I was getting into.
All right. If voters only remember one thing about why they should vote for you, what is that one thing?
That I have always sought to serve. I say this often, but we elect one of us to represent us. And one thing that I've tried to make sure that I understand, and that a lot of times people don't realize when they get to Frankfurt, is we're really not a big deal. Some people think they are. You see that when they get positions, but I'm one of this district, and we look to one of us to go represent our values, our principles, and make sure that we preserve the constitutional things that made this nation great. That foundation is always under attack. It always has been. And so that's what I would want people to remember. I'm there to serve.
All right. Quick break. Today's election coverage is brought to you in part by The Plumbing Doctor, a family-owned Hardin County plumbing company run by Glenn and Tracy Downs right here in Elizabethtown. Over 20 years serving E-Town, Radcliffe, Fort Knox, and Hodgenville, fully licensed and insured, 24/7 emergency service, and a 10% labor discount for military, first responders, and seniors. Look, showing up to vote on May 19th for the primary is one way you can take care of your community. Another way, especially during small business and local week, is calling your locally owned plumber. And when your water heater goes out, and using them instead of like a company that's not locally owned. When your pipes go, call local, call 765-PLUM. That's 765-PLUM. The Plumbing Doctor. Experienced, reliable, and affordable. All right, Josh. You've already been in office, so this question I ask, since you're the incumbent, you can answer it however you want. But the way that it's asked is, what's the first concrete thing you do next term?
So, one thing that I have tried to keep a focus on, and it's probably the thing that I hear about the most in the district, has been around infrastructure. And so, one thing that I'm going to always continue to do is to work on our infrastructure and to try to make sure that our tax dollars are coming back in that manner and in that method and for those purposes. I've said this often. We do a lot of things in the legislature, and that budget is huge. And there's things in there that, honestly, there a lot of people do not understand all that is in that budget and what goes to it. And that's not just outside people, that's inside people in the legislature. And I've said this often, that if we did infrastructure well, education well, and public safety well, people would be happy. And those are the primary things that they pay tax dollars for. And so that will be what I continue to focus on when I get back in the legislature, if the people reelect me. So
I muted myself. So these next two questions are, I'm going to combine them. They're 30 seconds each. So you have a total of 60 seconds for the combined question. And anyway, one's about funding. The other one's about where people can find more about your campaign. Is your campaign self-funded, donor-funded, or a mix? And then after that, where should voters go to learn more?
So it is donor funded, mostly, self funded in the fact that I do a lot of things, personally myself, out of my pocket when it comes to driving to events and those types of things. But there have been a lot of people across this district that have given sacrificially to help our campaign. And there are also at times that outside groups get in the mix of these things, and they spend money on our campaign. And so it's a mixture of things. And I have a website. It's joshcallawayky.com. You can also find me on Facebook, Josh Calloway, State Representative, District 10. And then I am on X as well as Josh Calloway, State Representative.
All right. Before we get into the state representative specific questions, a big thank you to our second sponsor, Omni Design Group. Omni is a second generation builder based in Elizabethtown. Josh Branningham and Corey Jewell, born and raised in Hardin County with deep family and business roots in the county. They handle new construction, remodeling, residential, and light commercial. Any size home, any size reno. No project is too big. No renovation is too small. and no idea is too out of the ordinary. They're the team that built the first storage container commercial structure in Hardin County over at Heartland Mini Golf. If you've got a build, a remodel, or an outside the box project, call or text Corey at Omni Design Group, 270-769-8339. That's 270-769-8339. Corey at Omni Design Group. Locally owned, locally built, custom thinking. All right, Josh, let's get into these race specific questions. You have 5 of them, and you have 2 minutes per question. So you have a total of 10 minutes. I'll keep track. You can bank it or use it or not use it. All right. Here we go. A Kentucky state representative serves a 2-year term as part of the 100-member House in Frankfurt. And an even year session like this one, you have up to 60 legislative days where you're in session, and an odd year up to 30. So in plain language, how do you describe the job to a voter who's never watched a committee meeting? What can a state rep actually do, and what can a state rep not do?
Well, I'll refer back a little bit to what I said earlier, is that we are actually a voice for the people. And you pointed out well that I'm one of 100. So what I can't do is I can't go up there and do anything by myself for the most part. You have a voice, you have a platform, and you can make things happen from that aspect. But when it comes to legislative action, it is a team has to come together. You have to work with colleagues. Sometimes you have to come together and make compromises on specific legislation. And so I am, for somebody that's never seen what goes on up there. I'm one person that is a voice for this district, and I think it's important for people to engage. I would like for more people to engage. A lot of times, there was 1,300 bills filed just in the House alone, a little over 1,300. And there's no way that every legislator or every citizen is going to know every bill that comes through there. But trying to educate the public, this is what's coming. If we do know what's coming, and people do reach out to me at times, but I'm there to be their voice and to work with other legislators to make sure, again, that our infrastructure is in place as it should be financially, and then to be their voice for the principles that represent this district.
No. The next question's about the budget. The 2026 General Assembly passed a $32.4 billion 2-year state budget on April 2nd, and seek per pupil K through 12 funding rises to 4,600, and in 27, then 4,800 in 2028. And that was less than the governor had proposed. And then also the Medicaid allocation came in roughly 700 million below the governor's ask. As an incumbent who voted on this budget, how do you defend the trade-offs to voters in District 10? Where would you have pushed to spend more? Where would you hold the line? And what do you want voters to understand about what that budget actually does?
So when it comes to the education standpoint, one thing that I wish would have been differently is if you look at the seek increase in 27 versus 28, we could have made that more even. So it's a greater increase percentage wise in 28 than it is in 27. That was probably politically done. Some of the motivation behind that, I can dig into that if you want to, but that's one thing personally that I think could have been different, and that would have been what a lot of people don't understand about the Medicaid side is that we passed a large bill addressing Medicaid. There's a lot of fraud, waste, and abuse there. And we do have a budget surplus that we have set aside. So if our calculations are not correct on the Medicaid, we won't have a shortfall. We will address that, and we're not going to let it become a shortfall. That being said, there were parts and pieces of the budget, several budget bills. Some I voted for, some I voted against, some I didn't vote on, just because of the fact that it came to the floor without the ability for me to be able to look at it. And I don't vote on legislation that I don't know what's in it. And so those were a few things that I think we could have done different. And I think the communication around the shortfall with Medicaid, would be good for people to understand. It's a hard thing to explain because as soon as the narrative comes out that you're cutting Medicaid, people may not understand. But we do have a surplus sitting there. We do have things that we are attacking the fraud, waste, and abuse, and we'll continue to do that as a legislature. That is the direction collectively. So,
All right. Next question is about housing. Um, Senate Bill 9, which you may not have been that involved with. I don't know. The omnibus housing bill died on the
yeah.
final day of the 2026 session. Hardin County. I guess your home county is Breckenridge. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I think that, well, I don't know. I assume that almost every county in rural Kentucky has, at least anyone that's moving up has a housing shortage, from
Yes.
starter homes to rental to workforce housing. As an incumbent who was in the room when that bill didn't work out, what's your read on why it died? And is there a specific bill, incentive, or local partnership you'd push to revive or rewrite in the 2027 session?
Yeah. So this bill, I had a lot of great pieces in it. I can tell you exactly why it died. The reason that it died is there was a back and forth between two bills with House leadership and with Senate leadership. The part that people were having heartburn with Senate Bill 9 on the Senate side was there was a piece that was placed in there for Airbnb. So basically, there were some local ordinances that were stopping people from being able to use their housing for Airbnbs. And so there was an amendment that was put in there by the Speaker of the House on the House side that said that local ordinances could not keep people from utilizing their housing for that. And then it gave a complaint process. So if it got out of hand, and ways that they could stop it, but they just couldn't say you can't use housing for Airbnb. There was the Senate was trying to get a bill for the film industry through, and neither bill made it through on the last day because they couldn't come to an agreement on either bill to leave them as they were. But that Senate Bill 9 had some great pieces in it. It needs to be revived. I had some colleagues that were very involved in that I've worked with a lot on this issue. And I think I know for a fact we'll see some of that come back again next session.
All right. Question 11. This one's just about disaster recovery, and it's more just, we've had some disasters lately. So just curious your take on this. Kentucky took a federal major disaster declaration in April of 25, those storms and flooding that also hit Meade County and 30 plus other counties, and another for May 2025 in Western Kentucky with the tornadoes. As an incumbent state rep, how do you see your role when it comes to disaster recovery? I don't know how much coordinating you do with FEMA or the governor's office or county emergency management, but than your other colleagues in the district. Some were hit harder or lighter than yours, but
Right.
kind of speak to what you see your role as in a disaster recovery.
Well, a couple things from a legislative standpoint, we did the financial allocations for these, so we set up funds that allow for those local governments to be able to access. The other thing that we do is we partner with our U.S. House and U.S. Senate delegations so that we can make sure that we have their voice, their resources, and we engage with them. And then on a local level, we engage as well. From a personal standpoint, we collected food and water and hauled trucks and trailers all over this state to help people and help clean up houses, and took teams out from our church, to help people that had lost their house completely to get some restructuring done or new structures put up. That's something that I've engaged in, since I was a teenager, been involved in all types of mission type projects like that. So there is the part that we act as a state rep, and the other part is just as a citizen and as a person that is out to serve in your community and other communities across the state that are struggling. And so I did a lot of those things back during the floods and the tornadoes, and was able to pull some stuff together. You do have a platform and a voice a little bit that you can use to tell people what the need is, and we saw people give from all over this country, whether it be money or items to help people that were struggling. So
All right. Well, we're up to the last question, and you have like you actually have like 3.5 minutes left. So you can either use those 3.5 minutes on the last question, or you can just use your 2 minutes, and then you can use the extra minute and a half after I'm done closing us out. Because I'll ask this last question, and I'll close this out, and then I'll give you time, 90 seconds to do elevator pitch. So you can either use that time for that elevator pitch to make it longer. You don't have to use it at all, or you can add it onto this last question. But that's how we'll end this thing out. This last question is about working across the aisle and across levels of government, especially considering the General Assembly is a supermajority chamber. The governor's from the other party, and almost every major issue, Medicaid, education, taxes, disaster relief, sits at the intersection of federal, state, and local government. As someone who's served 4+ years already, how do you build working relationships across those boundaries? Oh, we'll wait for him to come back. He shall return. Look at him. We shall wait. Oh, back.
there we are.
Now, what happened to me
We
earlier
was
today?
just getting to the good stuff too.
I know, right?
Yeah.
But I'll. Do you still remember where I was at on the question?
Yeah, we were just talking about natural disasters, and
Okay.
that,
So
that's less than.
the next question was just going to be about working across the aisle. And this is the last
Yeah.
question. The General Assembly is a supermajority chamber. The governor is from the other party, and almost every major issue, Medicaid, education, taxes, disaster relief, sits at the intersection of federal, state, and local government. As someone who's served 4 years already, how do you build working relationships across those boundaries, especially when you disagree with the other side on substance and policy?
So the biggest disagreement that we have that we try to have discussion around usually falls around the budget. There's always going to be disagreement in substance of policy when it comes to social issues and moral issues and those types of things. But when it comes to policy, I think the best way that we can work together is for everybody to be transparent, so that the people understands that your money, this is how it's being spent. And what we have sought to do is to make sure whoever it is, as the governor, or any other office, statewide office, that we have transparency for the people. And we have sought to work with the current governor. Most of the time that we've reached out, there's not reciprocation there. But it doesn't change the fact that we serve everybody in the state, no matter what party that they are affiliated with. And so I think transparency with their money is the best way we can all work together and make sure that people understand where their tax dollars are going and why they're being spent there.
Great. Well, before I close out, I'm going to close this out, and then I'm going to let you finish with your elevator pitch why people should vote for you for re-election. You have 90 seconds, but you actually have an extra 2 minutes, so you can spend up to, I guess, 90. It's been a long day, so I can't really do math right now. You have 3 or 4 minutes to spend on your elevator pitch, but you
I
don't
won't
have to
be
use it
that
all.
long. I won't
No,
be that long.
well, let me close us out, and then I'll prompt you, and you can finish us off. Representative Calloway, thank you for the time and making space for us on short notice today. For viewers, if you missed where Representative Calloway said voters can learn more, we'll drop that in the comments of the edited video. When we publish it, we'll put his website and all that information in there so you can learn more. With this interview, we've now heard from both candidates in District 12, the Republican primary, Julie Cantwell from last week, and Representative Calloway, the incumbent, today. Both will be on your ballot on May 19th. And you can go to hardinlocal.com and then click on the election interviews, and you can go to state and federal, and you can watch both their interviews. And that may help you make a decision on who to vote for. One final thank you to today's sponsors, the Plumbing Doctor at 765 Plum for 24/7 Hardin County Plumbing, and Omni Design Group. Call or text Corey at Omni Design Group, 270-769-8339 for your next build, remodel, or custom project. This raw live stream video will stay archived on our Facebook page for the next 30 days and on YouTube, our YouTube channel. I will also keep a copy of it downloaded on our server. So if anybody needs to request the actual interview to compare it against the edited, they can. I encourage you all to share this interview with anyone voting on May 19th in Hardin County. The Hardin County primary is Tuesday, May 19th. Find your polling place at elect.ky.gov. Thank you for spending part of your Tuesday with Hardin Local. And with that, Josh, go ahead and give us your elevator pitch for why people should vote for you.
Yeah, first of all, I want to thank you for doing this and the transparency of it and informing voters across the district and in Hardin County. And it is an interesting election that's coming up. We have a Senate race, a U.S. Senate race that it's been 42 years, I think, since we've had somebody new on the
Since I was
ballot.
born,
So
1984.
to me, that's exciting. Like, this is an
Mhm.
exciting time for us as Kentuckians. And so I said that to say, hopefully that drives more people to the polls. We need people to engage in this process and to let your voice be heard. I have always sought to be a voice for the people. And I have made sure that everybody understood I'm a Christian, I'm a constitutionalist, I'm a conservative, and I'm a Republican in that order. And those are the things that guide me and guide the decisions that I make. I take an oath to uphold the Constitution, and I have tried to do that with integrity. I will continue to do that and to be a voice for the people. And I will be honored to have everyone's vote that would vote for me on May the 19th. And just make sure that you go out and let your voice be heard. I think it's vitally important in this primary election.
All right, Josh. Well, we thank you for joining us, and we wish you the best of luck on May 19th. If you'll just hold off from dropping off until I end the stream, I'll have a couple final words with you.
Yes, sir.
And thank you, Hardin County, for joining us. We'll be back tomorrow at noon with Vincent, who's running for U.S. Senate on the Democrat side.